has made a proposal to ECOWAS to be permitted to be the bridge between ECOWAS and the AES when it comes to interregional dialogue and communication between the two blocs. It is believed in Russia that there is still a chance for collaboration and dialogue between the Alliance of Sahel States and ECOWAS. Now, when I looked at this conversation, Russia making a proposal to be the bridge for dialogue between the AES and ECOWAS, I sat down and I asked myself, why should it be so difficult for Africans to sit down? I was listening to Issa Bako recently, who said, when he dies, his only wish is that Africans should be wiped out. I am not a supporter to that type of, conversation. But let's come to sit down and ask ourselves, why is it difficult for ECOWAS to come to terms with the fact that the Alliance of Sahel States has come to stay? Why is it so difficult for ECOWAS to understand the fact that, the relationship, the regional power gradient has shifted from the unipolarity of West Africa to the multipolarity of the Alliance of Sahel States? I think there are certain benefits that certain ECOWAS, delegation used to enjoy. And I think there is a lot of pressure that is being put on ECOWAS to make sure that the Alliance of Sahel come back to the regional fold, which is going to unify the whole West African bloc as a unipolar bloc that is going to allow certain influences to return back to the Sahel region. Now, a lot of people will ask, why is it important for dialogue to happen between ECOWAS and the AES? If you listen to the president of Nigeria recently when he was talking, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he said that some of the cases of insecurity in Nigeria was as a result of an extravasation of insecurity from the Sahel down to the coastal West African nation, to the Gulf of Guinea. Now, why is President Tinubu making this statement? These are called interventionist, pretests. They are the pretext to set up the right, premise for an intervention to take place. Because if you ask them that now that you are saying that part of the insecurity that is plaguing your country is coming from the Sahel, what do you think is the necessary solution to put in place to solve the problem? Then you are going to have them saying immediately that partnership is required, and for partnership to come in place, there are certain terms that must be met. There are certain agreements that must be reached. There are certain collaboration. Now they are going to try to take you back that before there was a collaboration, there was a security framework called the G5, where you had Chad, you had Nigeria, you had Niger Republic, you had Burkina Faso. They are going to try to tell you that there was a security architecture, and that security architecture was broken when the AES, when they decided to separate themselves from the ECOWAS regional bloc. Then you are going to come back and look at that conversation and ask yourself a very, very serious question. Okay, if there was a security architecture to take care of insecurity, which is a cross-border problem, which is a problem that can extravasate from one region to another, a very, very delicate conversation, you are going to ask yourself, what is it? What is so difficult about coming to the negotiation table and making sure that this architecture is put in place for the peace of the people and the restoration of order? They are going to tell you that for that to happen, the AES has to come back to the regional bloc of ECOWAS. Now, when I had this conversation, I looked at it at why is it so difficult for ECOWAS to accept that, look, this situation is a situation that troubles everyone, and we need to come together as African people to come, to come to terms with the fact that we need to create a security architecture to address the issue on ground. They continue to talk about, dialogue at regional level. They continue to talk about, high level talks and regional collaboration and all of that. They need to talk about where is the funding going to come from. Now, when you look at the conversation of funding, then you ask yourself a simple question: who funds ECOWAS? When you know who funds ECOWAS, ECOWAS was funded as of last year, 2025, in the region of $306 million by the European Union. So whoever funds you, the billion-dollar question is: do they have the right to control your affairs? Do they have the right to change the manuscript that directs your core value system? So, ladies and gentlemen, but this same ECOWAS, I don't know where the funding came from when they wanted to intervene in Niger Republic, when Dramani Alassani Ouattara of Ivory Coast and Patrice Talon of Benin Republic, together with the president of Nigeria, said that they were ready to provide the financial logistics for those interventionist reservoir force that was going to go to Niger to go and cause chaos and destroy lives and property if possible, just to make sure they restore Bazoum. So why is it that when it comes to securing the people that exist around the border region, it now becomes a conversation of we need funding. We need to put things in place so that, we can secure the people. Is it not the responsibility of the government to secure the people in the country? That is the minimum that any government should do for their citizen. Why is it so difficult? Why is he a why is there so much political grandstanding for security to be ensured in the West African region? So, ladies and gentlemen, let me put it as simple as it is. Have you ever heard the United States? Have you been informed properly by some of these, a lot of YouTubers, they talk about the terms that were stated by the US envoys, the high delegation that have been sent to the AES. Have you ever heard the terms of the United States if they want security collaboration with the AES? Definitely, you know what ECOWAS is mirroring. You know who they are mirroring. The fact remains, whenever you hear the United States talking, they always say that the AES need, for them to have a security collaboration with the AES, they need to break their security collaboration with Russia, that they need to come back to the, recognized, established old order. That means that Russia needs to not be a security partner of the Sahel, that the United States is a regional, ally when it comes to security that can guarantee the safety and the security of the region. And that means if you bring back the United States, you need to bring back France. You need to bring back the NATO, associates. Meaning you need to bring back the United Nations peacekeepers. Is it MINUSMA? Is it MONUSCO? It means that you need to bring all these people back into the region, and they only have one purpose. What was the ask? What was the request of Rudy Atala when he came to have a dialogue in Mali? He said, in exchange, they will need a preeminent control over gold and lithium in the region. Now, when you look at Mali as a country, you have to ask yourself a question. What are the two main mineral resources that Mali is endowed with? They are endowed with lithium, they are endowed with gold in abundance. So, if you are asking for the primary mineral resources in a single region, that these resources are the resources that you want to go in without any type of negotiation. The negotiation is we provide security and you allow us to mine freely in this region. Definitely you understand that something is definitely wrong in the region. And recently, if you look at the development, if you look at the way things have been developing in the Sahel, you definitely know that something is definitely wrong with these people. if the release of a French DGSC spy in Mali could lead to the release of 82 Malian soldiers that was in the coffers of the FLA terrorist group and the JNIM, because you know the FLA and the JNIM, they are working as a tag team. So, and they are backed by Ukrainians, they are backed by France. So the question we must ask at this point is if the release of an arrested French spy in Mali can lead to the release of, you know, prisoners of war of the Malian armed forces. Definitely, you know that there is a close synergy between the unipolar Western order and the terrorist group that is terrorizing West Africa. Now, the question goes back to if the West are responsible for funding and, you know, inflammating terrorism in West Africa, why should any West African country not sit back and for a minute ask the question that why are we even collaborating with these people in the first place? Ladies and gentlemen, it is because those people, they are very shameless, they are very disrespectful set of people. When I'm talking about disrespectful, I mean they don't even respect their own self as human beings. Imagine if you are looking at the president of Nigeria and you are coming with the conversation that the president of Nigeria is, you know, he represents my interest. Definitely you are. It means whoever is making that statement is smoking something very terrible. You know, you have to be in the climax of a smoking regime for you to believe that Tinubu represents somebody like me. It would be an insult on my knowledge to say that a man like Tinubu represents someone like me. Currently, as we speak, according to the information we have, he is the preferred candidate of the United States to blindfold the freedom of Nigeria. Imagine. Now, let me tell you something. These are people that have known, documented track record of either drug issue or they have issues with money laundering. I can mention names. There is a man called Femi Gbajabiamila. He was a lawyer, right? According to the information we just recently got, he was arrested in the United States on charges of money laundering. When you look at the people, you know, who are currently governing the affairs of Nigeria, there was once upon a time that these people could not even stay in Nigeria when the military, when they were in power. They could not stay. They did not have the cojones to stay in Nigeria. And I repeat, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he ran away from Nigeria. He left Nigeria with a pair of shorts, of trousers, and a pair of slippers. According to him, he left Nigeria with £2,000. Then he came back to Nigeria after the death of General Sani Abacha. You definitely know that a lot of people, you know, they did not have what it takes to stay in Nigeria when Nigeria was really Nigeria. Abacha was the first person that said, when insecurity lasts for more than 24 hours in a country that has the military capability to suppress it, definitely you know the insecurity has now gone from ordinary insecurity to a politically backed or motivated insecurity situation. Now look at the country today. Now the reason why ECOWAS cannot have a reasonable or concrete relationship with the AES is simple. Imagine if France or some of this terrible partner of ECOWAS, if they send money to the regional bloc and they say, oh, we are supporting this bloc with this money. I don't know if you know that there are a lot of foreign funders that fund this organization. I don't know if a lot of people know. What do you think they do with that money? They share it among member states. Yes, that's what they do. They share it among member states. So when the European Union gave ECOWAS over 300 million euros, what did you think they did? Those politicians who are known criminals, what do you think they did with the money? They shared it with themselves. Now, come to think of it, do you think Ibrahim Traore, Assimi Goita, and Abdurrahmani Chiani, what do you think they would have done if they are in the same committee in ECOWAS? What do you think they would do if they get to see that, or if they get to have the opportunity to that type of funding? They will go back to their country and they will use the money to develop projects. And they will probably tell their people that this money was sent by certain people to develop our country. And they will probably inform their people about everything that happened in the meeting. What do you think that says about the remaining leaders of ECOWAS? Do you think they have enough reputation to confront their people and tell their people that we were funded around so period? Because there are people who start asking questions. What have you done with the money? Ladies and gentlemen, they cannot answer that question. You definitely know that they don't have what it takes to stand before their people and answer the question of, okay, we were funded and this is what we're supposed to do with the funding, because most of those people steal majority of the money. Now, Russia is saying that they want to be the intermediary between the AES and ECOWAS. And I sat down and I asked myself, why would there be a need for Russia to be the bridge for a dialogue to happen between AES and ECOWAS? Ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely shameful, it is disrespectful that Russia, foreign influence, needs to sit between African leaders for African leaders to agree on issues that are fundamental to the existence of these regional bodies. Let's come to think of it. You know, this whole conversation about constitutional order, which is part of the demand of ECOWAS from the AES, they said they have to return back to constitutional order. And this is going to bring us to a whole different conversation today. You see, this issue of constitutional order, when you ask them, what do you mean by constitutional order? They are going to try to return you back to the Lomé, the Lomé Accord, where they came together to politically create a core value or to constitutionally enshrine some dictates that back civilian rule. Ladies and gentlemen, they are not going to inform you that 10 of the 15 founding members of ECOWAS were military personnel. They are not going to tell you that. And it is the hypocrisy. They continue to say that no, you've never experienced military regime. I have not experienced military regime. You have a lot of criminals and liars, thieves. They just have to be criminals. They exist in almost all West African states. They are going to tell you, you've never experienced military regime. You've never experienced this. You've never experienced that. That's a lie. There is military regime all over the AES. There is military regime in Gabon. Nguema is a military personnel. He goes about making sure that what he paid people for is being done. That's a military regime. Have you seen what is currently going on in Uganda? Politicians are being arrested. Contractors are being they are being put behind bars because they were paid for projects. Until we are speaking, those projects have not been done and the money have been spent. This is what they are telling you. When they tell you that military regime is too tough, this is what they are trying to tell you. This is what they are trying to tell you, that military regime is too tough. You don't want to experience it. I am not a criminal like you are. I am not a criminal, so I can tell you that I want to experience that military regime that you criminals are speaking against. Even on this very day, civilians are still stealing till tomorrow. These are things that cannot happen in a military regime. You can give me one example in West Africa or all over Africa right now, under military so-called dictatorships, where things are not working, where decisions are not being made with the guidance of sovereign interests of a country as we speak. You talk about Assimi Goïta, you talk about Ibrahim Traore, you talk about Abdurrahmane Chiani, you talk about Nguema. Start mentioning those presidents down south that are military personnel. Before anything, they think about the interest of their country first. Look at the security situation in Rwanda. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the security situation in Rwanda. You definitely know that these are serious people. First, they are serious before all else. And this is why you have some Western criminals. When I was here yesterday, a French, all right, a French citizen was here on the live stream. And he said, we should not be defending a repressive regime like the regime in Togo. And I told him to keep quiet because he has no moral justification to speak when intelligent people are speaking. Because he's only a stupid person that comes to a live stream that is being anchored by a medical professional and try to prove to me that you are right to send someone that has a chronic medical ailment to a very long distance. You did not think about the timing. He did not go there with some medical, drugs. He did not go there with any first aid intervention. And when he was captured, while carrying out espionage, that is the only time you realize that he needs to be released from detention because he has a chronic medical intervention. That he has a chronic medical ailment. Is that no stupidity? All the way from France, he did not go through any medical checks that passed him fit to carry out the responsibility that have been designated to him. A French personnel, an ambassador of France, have just been arrested in Central African Republic on issues of rape. Why always France, Emmanuel Macron? Why always France? Cross-border insecurity from Mauritania to Mali is France. Algeria to Mali is France. And there are Western platforms that are always very, very good when it comes to telling lies about the military adventure of the West in Africa here. Thank God I'm a Nigerian. There is this guy called Kapi. His name on YouTube is Kapi's, what they call him Kapi whatsoever. He's a PR merchant of the United States. He said the US released an undisclosed number of Tomahawk missiles from the Gulf of Morocco, that they released it to go and neutralize a lot of ISWAP terrorists. Are you joking? Is it the missiles that landed on people's farms or the missile that broke through people's ceilings? Are you joking? You see, the era of lies is over, and it is this type of face these idiots keep when they tell these lies. I followed the information from the beginning to the end. Everywhere those fake Tomahawk missiles landed, I have the picture, I have the video. It did not land on any military target. If that was a mission, it was a mission to destroy lives and properties. The same Tomahawk you used to destroy the lives of the Minab school girls, You have a reputation of killing more civilians than your military targets. And he had enough courage to come online and say that the United States obliterated a lot of terrorists. It was a complete obliteration with Tomahawk cruise missile. Those missiles that landed in people's farm, that landed near the sockaway of families. They were removing them even weeks after. Don't glorify what is not. The military adventure of the West in Africa is a complete failure. It's nothing to write home about. The only place you people show good military prowess is inside Hollywood movies. In reality, the result is different. Operation Tango Tango, what did you do? Operation Tango Tango in Niger. What happened to those US officials, those US officers? You turned it from a failed military campaign. You now changed the whole story. Even you tried to disrespect the memories of the Nigerian soldiers that fell in that fight with the jihadists. You failed completely. In Mali, the adventure of the French soldiers, when you got to the line of contact, you were talking about a wounded militia. When you got to the point of fight, you told the Malian forces, you said the farmers should move forward. They should move into the dangerous zone. You said the Malian farmers should lead. When you got to where you know that, yeah, it's about to go down, you stood back. Most of you were inside your gun trucks. But the farmers should go and confront the danger. When Mukhtar Belmokhtar was neutralized in Mali, it was the Shadian forces that led the battle with the farmers. The French soldiers were behind. When Abu Zaid was neutralized in the Timbuktu region in Mali, it was the Shadian forces and the farmers of Mali that led the battle. You were behind. But when it was time to give reports, the French soldiers said, the announcement, the headline was that the French soldiers have neutralized Mukhtar Belmokhtar and Abu Zaid. Where is that conversation coming from? If we don't tell our stories, the hunter will always kill the lion. But are you aware of how many lions have been killed inside the forest? How many hunters have been killed by the lion inside the forest? But the lions cannot write their own story. So when I look at you guys that tell these lies, when I see anything American, when I see anything French, you see French, I stand on what I said yesterday. Get your gun out of safety. If that was why you felt the need to come and say that, yes, there are French citizens living in Mali, Burkina. Yeah, I've seen the video. I've seen a lot of French citizens in Burkina Faso. The question I'm still asking is, why are you guys still there? Your government said it's the global epicenter of terrorism. So if that happens to be the case, why are you still there? Because that is your pretext now. You said there are French citizens living there. If it is a very terrible country, why are you still there? You dare to now call the Togolese government a repressive government. Because now they are beginning to capture you on your espionage campaign. You said it's a repressive, an oppressive regime. So it's now a regime. When you say things, people should ask themselves, what are you trying to say? Because what I can deduce from your statements is hypocrisy and lies. So the Togolese government now has become an oppressive government because they no longer take, complete order from Paris, isn't it? But they can do whatever they like as long as the orders come from Paris. Was that not the proposal that was made to Ibrahim Traore by Emmanuel Macron? That Ibrahim Traore can do whatever he wants. He can stay whatever period he wants in power, as long as he does not attack the interest of France in Burkina Faso. The era of stupidity and lies must end. Operation Tango Tango was just one of those reality check. And you know why they could not deny Operation Tango Tango? Because they could have lied. It is in their DNA to tell lies. They could not deny Operation Tango Tango because the camera, the dash cam on the helmet of the American soldiers were recovered by the Al-Qaeda fighters, and they posted the video on their Al-Qaeda channel. They posted the video. You know the terrorists have their own propaganda platform. They posted the videos there. And when you want to look at the American version of the Operation Tango Tango, they will cut the video. Did you hear the scream? Did you hear the scream from these guys as those leads were penetrating? The jihadists stepped to them. The jihadists broke the distance from imperceptible angles. They stepped to them. They overran the whole. Everybody had to run. Those that could not outrun the effective range of the bullets, those were the ones that were caught in action. What did they say in Nigeria recently? They said their mission is over in Nigeria. But in movies, right? You are there. You are the good guys. You enter the whole place. Yeah, you know, you are here to take out Assad. You know, you went to Afghanistan in the Patsun Mountain. In the Patsun Mountain in Afghanistan. You said over 200 mercenaries were firing at you. But according to the information, they said only 15 guys were firing at you. Your SEALs said over 200 guys, that it was a brutal firefight. But the authentic version said just 15 guys were firing at these fools from different angles. So it felt like 200 guys. They tried to deny the official version. Ladies and gentlemen, these guys are not bulletproof. Because I see a lot of my country people saying, oh, let the US come. If they come, maybe they come for your resources. They are not coming for security. I dare you to go and watch Operation Tango Tango. Those final moments, when you hear the groan, it was not a scream. When you hear the groan, you definitely realize that these guys, they were no match for those jihadists. They were no match for those jihadists. Let me tell you something about these jihadists that a lot of people don't know. I believe I posted a video on this platform some times ago, and the video was flagged. You know, these are the things that made me stop posting video on YouTube. A jihadist took an AK-47. He brought out a sham in his chest. He shot himself. The bullet did not pierce him. From point blank, the bullet did not pierce him. Right? That is to show you the reason why they step to you in the line of battle and they shout Allahu Akbar and they don't wear bulletproof. They continue to move forward. The terrorists that were killed in San, in Mali, did you see how they were moving forward and shouting Allahu Akbar? Even though the Malian armed forces were dropping a lot of them, they were trying to break the distance, but they could not because the Malian armed forces had a superior firepower. Ladies and gentlemen, the American forces in Operation Tango Tango, they did not have RPG, they did not have GPMGs, they did not have 50 cal, they did not have the necessary capability to suppress those shams. Because I have seen men dust AK-47, but I've not seen them dust no 50 cal. I've not seen them dust no PKM mounted on a bipod or a tripod. No, not that I know of. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole military campaign that they have in Africa is all kabuki theater. Because now when you go to the internet to look at the Operation Tango Tango, what they said the Nigerian forces, they were nowhere to be found. They could not even keep up because their training was bad. How dare you? They said the Nigerian forces were the first to be shooed by the jihadists because their training was not good enough. These are people that were born in this terrain. They grew up in this terrain. Do you know what they call ecological adaptation? The fact that they were born in that terrain alone has given them a superior advantage. They were born in that desert. Do you know what that means? They know the terrain more than you know the terrain. In my village, when I tell you, if there was an opportunity for me to show you a video of when I was young, how I used to scale the forest of my village, like there is no place you can point to in that forest that I don't know. I know the terrain. I grew up there. I go into that bush for free. So you got there and you said the training was bad, this was this, that was that. The jihadists deleted them so quick because they did. And you, at the end of the day, you turned your failed mission in Africa, you turned it to a fundraiser. That was a failed operation. And at the end of the day, they tried to blame it on somebody. They said, was the United Nations security forces not supposed to be training Nigerian forces to go on the mission? And somebody gave the order, they were not prepared for contact and all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, don't deceive yourself. That was not what happened. They only tell you stories, and even they will add seasoning to it when the story favors them. Look at what Assimi Goita said about the Malian forces. He said there was a day they were pursuing the jihadists, and when they had cornered the terrorists, the French forces gave them orders to back off. They had the terrorists on the run. The terrorist was out of bullets. They were out of munition completely, and they had them. And the French forces said, "It's enough. Let them go." This is what they are in Africa to do. Assimi Goita said he cried on that day. This is your mission in Africa. So for that useless individual that had enough courage, I left your message. I left your comment there. Because you are a shameless entity. I left your comment there. You think you have enough reputation to still defend yourself in 2026? You think you have that image to speak when important and reasonable people are speaking? No, you don't. Don't talk about France. When we are talking, don't talk about France. That's a terrorist organization with a nuclear weapon. Marco Rubio said it. It's a terrorist organization with a nuclear weapon. What did they say on LCI TV? They said when they had the French forces in Niger, that they were carrying out covert operations. That now that the government in Niger has kicked out the French forces, that you people can now carry out covert and overt terrorist operation in Niger. When the JNIM, the Islamic State, the EIGS, when they attacked the Diori Amani air base, 101, what were they looking for? They were looking for uranium. When did when as Al-Qaeda affiliate start to go on a mission to look for uranium? Are they not carrying out your objective? What did President Abdurrahmani Chiani say? He said these are the machineries of Emmanuel Macron. And you still think you have the reputation to come out and defend the interest of that silly nation? Don't talk when people are talking. We will speak. You don't have the reputation to speak. I left your comment there to really, really show your stupidity to the world. Because you are. I posted the video of a French ambassador graping Central African Republic people. I left it on the Telegram channel so that people can see that it always has to be France. We're not messing around here. Or you want to defend that one? The woman slapped the shit out of your ambassador. They slapped the hell out of that ambassador. So, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, who also serves as the Deputy Administrator of the United Nations Development Program, Mr. Hualeng Zhu, was received in Ouagadougou by the Prime Minister, His Excellency Rintala Jim Emmanuel Ouedraogo. Now, this visit did not happen in isolation. According to information, the United Nations office came to Burkina Faso immediately after the working visits to Mali and Niger. A new path is being charted before our very eyes in West Africa. And this is a point I want you to hold to your mind, because all the three alliance states countries, they belong to the same bloc, and Burkina Faso is currently the confederal head of the AES. The central message that came out of this meeting is very clear. The Prime Minister stated, and I want you to read this carefully because the words matter. He said, we cannot claim sovereignty while simply asking for help. That is precisely why we rely first and foremost on our own resources. This is the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso speaking to the United Nations representative. And he went further, he said, we reject funding. We reject funding that subject us to dictates. Burkina Faso said they will not accept any type of funding. You know, when you want to develop projects, there is always this thing you will hear. Where is the funding going to come from? Funding is important, but Burkina Faso is saying we will not accept any type of funding that subjects us to dictates. And family, this is not the language of a country that is desperate for help, for aid, as the unipolar world will always call it. That's the language of a government that have decided to sit at a table on its own time. That's a story of a renewed cooperation between the United Nations and Burkina Faso. Remember that Burkina Faso recently declared a United Nations official in Burkina Faso persona non grata. So the United Nations said they are now ready to chart a new path to their relationship with the Alliance of Sahel. So what exactly is Burkina Faso asking for? The Prime Minister made it clear that the format of countries' cooperation with the UNDP needs to be reviewed. These are the only sovereign countries in Africa. These are the only sovereign countries in Africa. You cannot deny this. A lot of people will say, when we speak for Ibrahim Traore, that we are doing Russian propaganda. So you look at me now and you tell me that I'm a Russian propaganda outlet? Do I look like that to you? What we are doing here is out of genuine love. It's out of what we can see. It's out of a leader that speaks the mind of the people. Have you heard this word before? Ibrahim Traore can do no wrong. That is a common rhetoric in Africa currently as we speak. These are men that represent the interest of the people. His principles and policies is being echoed across the continent of Africa. You go to Ghana, you hear people talking about, they are saying what Ibrahim Traore has said. They are saying it verbatim. We're now entering a new era where children will now have debates, where children will have conversation about some of the principles and core values of Captain Ibrahim Traore. Not to talk about the French Revolution. What is our business with French Revolution? What is our business with French Revolution? Or what is my business with the Battle of Kaiba? Don't reduce us to religion. We are a people, we are a civilization on our own. Don't come telling us about Islam, that you are a Muslim. Your name is Kabiru, your name is Abdul Jabbar, your name is Jalil, your name is Abu Zaid. When you hear Abu, most of them are terrorists. Don't reduce us to Islam. This is why wherever you have Islam, you hardly can see any type of reasonable growth there. Look at Sudan. Most of their pyramids are now getting destroyed. They cannot even replicate it anymore. And the reason for all these things is because people are beginning to forget their heritage. Don't address me as a Christian, and don't dare address me as a Muslim. I am an African. First, I am an African. I'm not a Muslim. I am not a Christian. I am an African. Anything outside the interest of Africa does not interest me. Because certain people, they don't know that they are being used to project the interests of foreigners. What they think is that they are defending religion. That is the most stupid thing to do in 2026. You cannot defend your country, but to defend religion is your number one priority. That is the highest level of stupidity I have seen. You want to defend a religion that tells you to collect jizya, to collect a taxation that represents the life of another person. So if they don't pay the taxation, they should die. Look, it is simple. It's a diabolic religion. I am still waiting in 2026 for somebody that will tell me, dear brother, I am inviting you to our masjid, or inviting you to a program in our mosque. I am going to oh God. See, I am waiting. I have not seen. I don't know how to keep my face. I need you all to believe me that I'm not what you think I am. You come and you make that type of statement, I will reestablish you with immediate effect. I don't train for nothing. Just try your luck. Shake hands with me, even though most of these guys shake my hands and I tell them, do you know I'm a Muslim? They look at me, they nod their head and laugh. I tell them most of the time, do you know I'm a Muslim? You're not inviting me to your program. They look at me and they laugh because you know what time it is. You will just walk into anybody, you will start salam alaikum. No, don't reduce us to religion. We are a people. First of all, we must be ready to understand that. You want to tell me about the Battle of Kaiba that took place where? You will now see that in the future now, the Shia Islamists, the people that practice Shia Islam, they might create their own Quran and put the name of Ayatollah Said Khamenei. And some of the things he has said, I'm talking about many years after now, some of the things he has said, they will start using it as preaching. They will say one of their prophets in Islam, Ayatollah Said Khamenei. What does that mean? I am telling you, they are going to do this thing. Look at the number of people on the streets when they wanted to bury him. I respect him for the things he has done. They said he charted a fatwa that they must not do this, they must not. Very soon, if you look at the way they try to, the way they are burying him, the way they are mourning him, they will try to make him one of their prophets. They immortalize people that came just the way you and I was born. So they will immortalize them in the name of a very, very useless doctrine, and they will tell you to come and worship. I know you know that Shia Islam is different from Sunni Islam. So some stupid Africans somewhere, I've seen them. They wear uniforms, they tie their head with this thing, and they are going, they marched. They said they should take them to Iran to go and fight the war of religion. I have seen a lot of things. This is what Africans do. The bottom of the food chain. That is what Africans have reduced themselves to. They've reduced themselves to the bottom, the baseline of the food chain. How dare you come to Africa and try to sell a religion to people? How do people spread Islam? Do they spread it by the work of their hands or their exploits? They spread it through the sword. There is another religion that spread it, through a sort of ideologic surrender. You ask a Christian, they'll be like, "Oh, what shall it profit me if I gain the whole world and I lose my soul?" Have you seen your own soul? So give that white man that is here to take your resources, give him all the resources. You will not profit anything if you lose your soul, ladies and gentlemen. And you if you gain all that resources to yourself and you lose your soul, you will not make heaven. They even lied to a point. They said it is more difficult for a rich man to enter heaven than for a poor man to go through the hole of a needle. But when you travel to their countries, a lot of you that have heard, you will say that, oh, that place is the heaven that they are talking about. But your country is here. When will Africans wake up? And the resources of Africa is the only thing you can leverage on. When are we going to discover ourselves? When are we going to sit down and we will decide that we are only going to be judged by the content of our character? When is Africa going to mind their own business? When are we going to mind our business in Africa here? When is Africa going to mind? I continue to look at these things and I laugh. You know why you cannot deceive somebody like me? Because I have no allegiance to any religion. Matter of fact, I come from a school of thought where if you say you are a religious person, they isolate you immediately. That's where I come from. I come from a school of thought where you don't speak in tongues. Apostle Fufeyin of Nigeria traveled to Burkina Faso. He did his hand like this, and people were falling down. Did you see the video? Apostle Fufeyin of Nigeria, he did his hand like this. People were falling down in his tour to Burkina Faso. And I asked myself, is this a thing among Christians? Is this a thing? Is this a practice? Is this part of your doctrine? He did his hand like this. People fell. We can't continue to be stupid. I have witnessed people come out in church and they gave false testimony. People that I know. And this is why the Muslims will always have enough courage to say that, can you see, they lie too much in that religion. Islam is the true religion. No, it's not the true religion. Who told you that one religion is the true religion? We need to remove the chaff from our society. There are certain pastors in Africa now that have been funded by the Europeans to only preach the gospel of prosperity. They don't preach honesty to you. They don't tell you to be honest. They don't tell you to be asentimental. They tell you that you will reap the fruit of the Gentiles. So when it is now so bad and pathetic to the point that if you want to go for certain interviews and you know that a Christian is the general manager or a Christian is the auditor general, maybe you wear the tag of Redeem, or you wear the tag of Living Faith, or you wear the tag of Protestant or Pentecostal. So when the man see you, be like, oh, bless you. You attend so church for you to get a job. That should be down to credibility. Where are we going? If you continue to follow religion, you have only one way. For you to accept Islam means you are already a slave. I believe everybody knows that by now, because that's what the Muslim says. I did not say it. They say they are the slave of Allah. You are the slave of a Middle Eastern person. Whatever it represents, it exists in the Middle East. So you are personally declaring yourself a slave of something that evolved in the Middle East. And when you say you are a Christian, you are bringing yourself down so low to the point that when I was growing up, I heard certain Christians that said that, before they die, they want to visit Jerusalem. They want to, when we were small, we sing all those songs. Jerusalem on high, as long as it is. All these things are lies. Now, Apostle Fufeyin went to Burkina Faso. He did this. And I saw a lot of people falling down. And I asked myself, what nonsense is this? Ladies and gentlemen, I've been to so many churches where people put their hands on me. I did not fall until I discovered that they were trying to push me. And I had to tell the man, bro, you are trying to push me. Look, listen, man. I've a pastor in a very dangerous situation. I've lied before. They asked the pastor, he was a young pastor at that time. They asked him, who did this thing? Maybe out of fear, he lied on another person. And I stepped up and I was like, that was a lie. He didn't do it. And I went to confront the pastor after that incident. I said, you are a pastor. You were trained by certain pastor. You are supposed to speak the truth regardless of the situation. Why did you lie? He apologized. You see, what a lot of people are forgetting is that these people are ordinary people before whoever called them, called them. So that human nature is still there. I've been in the hospital at around 10 in the night, and a pastor brought a young girl, less than 15 years old, and was asking, please, I want to see the doctor. Then we asked, what are you here for? He said, I made a mistake with this young girl. And people must not see a figure like me in public. I'm ready to pay any amount of money. We want to terminate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been opportune to sit in positions where I can see these flaws. So when I see these men, most of the time when they are talking, I laugh. And I let them know I'm laughing. Because we now exist in a very dangerous period where you either look at the pastor like somebody that can do no wrong, or you look at an imam. There is an imam around my area here. He smells so horrible. He looks so dirty. If you look at his leg, you will pity humanity. If you look at his leg, you will pity humanity. The other time, he shook hands with me and I had to go and wash my hand. That was how dirty this guy was looking. He's the one that leads their prayer every morning. No hygiene, nothing. His beard is so unkept. Look at yourself and picture yourself in a world where you practice Sharia. Picture yourself. No, ask yourself. This whole thing about practicing Islamic religion and Sharia and all of these things, just take yourself out of where you are now and insert yourself in that type of scenario and ask, what type of environment would that environment look like? What will you become? A religion that tells you to marry a minor. So that means you guys can start picking your wife from the age of 7, from the age of 6. Have you not read it? It is part of the core values. It is part of the religion. You marry ladies at a very young age. They practice this thing very well in the north. A religion where if somebody does something, they'll be like, cut off the hand, cut off the leg, cut off the head. Have you heard all these imams that are talking? Our religion said we should do this. No law, no order. So, ladies and gentlemen, imagine yourself in that world. And when you tell people that this is not the way, do you know what they will tell you? They will say, what should they do? If they leave Islam, they ask me, I've talked to a couple people and they were telling me, what do I want them to do outside Islam? That this is all they know to do all their lives. And I asked them, what do you do for a living? They don't even have a job. I asked them, what do you do for a living? Because if you have a job, you can't be telling me that what should you do if you get out of Islam. The one that was, good enough to tell me that he was an engineer, I said, what have you manufactured? What have you produced? Don't tell me theories. What have you done as an engineer? That boy will continue to respect me till tomorrow. I said, what have you done? He said he has a project. Where is the project? Have you drawn the framework? Have you started? He said he's trying to communicate with this. Don't tell me anything. You are just another unserious individual out there. You are not thinking of development. You are not progressive. Everything you are doing is counterproductive. But when it comes to Sharia, you are always very, very excited to cut people's hands and legs. I have colleagues that always tell me that if there is Sharia, corruption will end. Yet, these same people in the north, they kept that money that was removed from that store. That money should be more than trillions. They stacked it inside a baku bag. They sealed it. They wrote 100 kilogram on each of those bags. They stocked it in a store. That money, those bags, I can't count the numbers. There was money inside, and the entire money decayed inside the bags. This is the type of religion they are telling you to accept. In the north, it was a Muslim person that did it. They stacked all the money inside those baku bag, and they kept it. The money decayed. There's no infrastructural development. There is no school. There are no hospital. Nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, we must come to a point where we must judge people by the content of their character, not by their religion. And when people tell you salam alaikum, ask them for their identity. Tell people, is this how you greet officially in your own environment? You are not an Arabian person. You are an African. How do they greet where you are from? Don't tell me salam alaikum. Don't reduce yourself to a slave. Greet me how you are supposed to greet me based on our own culture and tradition. Don't tell me, bless me. I don't need your blessing. I don't need it. If you are to stand next to me, it is very, very possible that you are the one that needs to be blessed. So don't tell me, bless you. How do you greet where you are from? I know of Mingwo. I know of Mingwo. I know of Ekaro. I know of Senu. Don't tell me salam alaikum or tell me bless me. Africans need to liberate themselves from all of these things. Now, Burkina Faso is saying to the West, we tolerate development. We tolerate support. But we don't want support that come with condition. Now they are saying that they have a plan for the recovery of national economy. They call it the Reliance Plan. For those who may not know this is a recovery plan that is running from 2026 to 2030 with a total budget of $65.1 billion. And it was presented back in early May by the Minister of Economy and Finance in Burkina Faso, Minister Abubakar Nakando. The United Nations official, Mr. Zhu, gave his assessment, and according to his own assessment, around 65% of the funding requirement for this plan should be met from the national resources of Burkina Faso, while the remaining 35% could be provided through international partnership and solidarity. But Burkina Faso is saying any partnership that comes with condition and terms would not be accepted. We are progressive people. We welcome progress. We welcome investment. We welcome development. But the unprecedented truth is that we would not accept any conditional contribution to the development of Burkina Faso. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the way relationship should work in Africa. It should not be the other way around. So Mr. Zhu said that the United Nations will now be guided in their relationship with Burkina Faso and their role going forward when it comes to the participation of the UNDP in Burkina Faso. That they will be participating with limited funding, while they will allow Burkina Faso to chart its own path for the future. The organization, they said, can exist in strengthening government capacity, transferring expertise, and implementing solutions in the line of national priorities. The parties also discussed the possibility of scaling up successful projects through public funding, projects that were previously implemented with the UNDP support. So Burkina Faso is saying, don't fund us. We can raise public funding. Our people, and Burkina Faso is not just speaking because they just want to speak. The people of Burkina Faso, both at home and in diaspora, has shown that you don't need external support. They have been able to, most of the time, beat their projected targets. There is always a particular target they always designate that, okay, we want to donate, we want to fund the government. But at the end of the day, the money that comes from diaspora and the money that is being internally generated by the people always becomes too much. Ladies and gentlemen, Burkina Faso believe in the funding they can get from their people. And this is why they have enough cojones and enough confidence to stand before the United Nations and say, we don't need external funding. We can fund our own projects. We can fund our own development. Now, Burkina Faso is not walking away from the United Nations. It is renegotiating the terms of agreement under which the relationship operates. And the message is simple. We will work with you, but we will not accept to be dictated to. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new Burkina Faso that we know. And this Burkina Faso is the Burkina Faso that we want. A Burkina Faso that funds religion indigenously. All religion in Burkina Faso are allowed to practice their faith, and they will be funded by the Burkina State institution. This is what a sane society should be like, ladies and gentlemen. But you have criminals that will tell you that military regime is not good. It's better you accept civilian regime. It is the only regime that can guarantee your freedom of speech and whatsoever. But ladies and gentlemen, most of the democratic regime that we have right now, are they really democratic? Are they really honest? Most of the election you have, is it a projection of your interests? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I want. This is what I want a lot of people to take home with themselves and let it sit in. Ask yourself, all this so-called democracy, are they really the projection of your interests? How many years of democracy and what developments can we point at that we are seeing? Only a liar, given the resource capability that we have in Africa, only a liar will come out and say that Africa is developing in this condition and in these circumstances. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming. It's your boy 72 Andre signing out. Enough said, but before I go, I want to appreciate you for coming once again and supporting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the 27,000 subscribers. And I believe that a lot of people have joined our channel through this live stream again, because I'm always surprised by the number of subscribers we are able to garner every time we come out on live. It means that everything we say is always true and it is impactful. Thank you, and God bless you.